Kunti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kevayam Nama Rupabhyam Yadubi Sahabandava. Bhavato Darshanam Yahai Hrishikash Nam Iveshutu. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. So Queen Kunti is expressing herself to Lord Sri Krishna, as Lord Krishna is moving on to Dwarka. He's moving on to Dwarka. And Kunti is explaining a very important point here. And I was just listening to a lecture today by Srila Prabhupada about everything is finished with the disappearance. So Prabhupada is saying, Manju, calm down. You just turn your mind, just get off the call, Manju, if you don't want to pay attention. I mean, to me, that doesn't make a difference. Either be with us or be off.
Gosh, they keep calling. I can't reason with a 2-year-old.
Turn your phone off. Turn your phone off. It's not their fault, it's your fault. So, just like Srila Prabhupada was saying, just like if you're going to be evicted from your house, just say like, I went over, Abhishek got an eviction notice, or Tanu Pandavika Prabhu, or Shiromani, I'm looking at everybody on the cameras here. All of a sudden, the bank note or whatever came and said, I'm sorry, you have to vacate the house in a week. Would anybody be interested in decorating their house? Buy new furniture, paint the walls, redo the bathroom? This is Srila Prabhupada's point. We have an eviction notice for this body. The body has an eviction notice. It's today or tomorrow. But yet we're sitting here knowing that we have an eviction notice and thinking how to improve the house. We have an eviction notice to get out of the house. Every one of us has an eviction notice to get out of this house. I have an eviction notice. Everyone on this Zoom call has an eviction notice. Although we may not know the date, we just know we have an eviction notice. Yet we continue to think, let me rearrange something with this thing, this body. Body is compared to a vehicle. Just like if the lease is up on your car, the lease is up, say you lease a car and the lease is up. You don't go and spend hundreds of dollars getting it tuned up and fixed up and this thing and that thing, because it's going back. It's going back to the manufacturer, it's going back to the leasing agent. It has nothing to do with you anymore. Within, say it's up in 1 week, 2 weeks. We will feed it, just like this body, we'll feed it. We'll feed it. We'll give it proper rest. We'll give it proper, whatever it needs on the basic level. But are we going to decorate it? Who would do so? Probably saying, only a foolish person would do that. Because we have that eviction notice. What are we going to do with that time we have left? Search for the next body. Search for the next place of residence. This is what he said. If we're going to be kicked out of this residence, why fix it up knowing that we're going to be kicked out? Why use that time fixing up, painting, polishing this thing and that thing, or whatever all the words Prabhupada used? It was quite blunt. He was in Calcutta, hometown advantage. Srila Prabhupada had the hometown advantage in Calcutta. And they were his type of people, right? Some educated people. And he was telling them, why would you waste that time when you know you're going to be evicted? Why not use that time rather than decorating your house, fixing it up, changing the bathroom, changing the kitchen, changing the color of the paint, rearranging, buying new paintings, getting rid of old, you do all kinds of things like this. Why not utilize that time for seeing where your next residence is going to be? Because we're all going to have another residence. Whatever state of being we're in at the time of death, that state we're going to go without fail. That's going to happen without fail. We can't stop that. Nothing can change that. We have a due date. Everyone has a due date. Each and every one of us has due date. May not be stamped across our forehead. I think if it was like a milk carton, we'd probably all be nervous waiting for that day to come. Maybe it'd probably be a pretty good idea to have a due date stamped on our forehead. Might give us a little inspiration. Knowing that in 2050, I'm going to be gone. 2025, I'm going to be gone. We don't know. We don't know. Where this whole Bhavatam was spoken by Sukadeva Goswami because Maharaj Prikat knew that he had 7 days left to live. So when Prikat Maharaj knew, of course, Prikat Maharaj could have counteracted the curse of Shringi, the Brahmin boy, but he accepted that curse. And he went out and he searched out what is the best thing for one who is about to die. What is the best thing to do for one who's about to die? And who is about to die? Who's the oldest one on this computer right now? Abhishek, me, Manju, Dr. George, Dr. Desai, Tandavika, Virtue Bhumi, Nitai Gaurasundar, Shirada Vallabh, Shiramani, sorry, I almost called you Shiroji. Matsya, I can't see who there. Abhinaran, Lata Mehta, I don't see anybody's faces, so I can't remember. Who's the oldest? That famous story when His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj and Hridayananda Maharaj got initiated. Hridayananda Maharaj was 24. 24 when he took sannyas. Not initiation, sannyas. Took sannyas at 24. So Satsvarup Maharaj must have been 41, 42, 41. He would have been 39. So 49, 59, 69. He would have been 33 years old. Would have been 33 years old when he took sannyas. So there was a young reporter there who knew a little something about Indian culture, and he said, "Your Grace, why have you given these young men why? No, it was before the initiation. Why are you giving these young men sannyas if this is supposed to be awarded when they're old? It's the fourth order." Brahmachari, Brahmacharini, Grahastha, Vanapras, Sannyas. This happens when you're in your last stage of life. So Prabhupada asked the young reporter, what does it mean to be old? So the reporter was like 23, 24, 25 years old, and Prabhupada was like 75 years old. 72, he would have been 75, 76 turning. And the boy was kind of like bewildered because what does it mean to be old? Everybody knows what it means to be old. Old is old. So then Prabhupada tightened the screws. He says, "Who's older, me or you? Who's older, me or you?" Then Prabhupada said, "Old means about to die. So can you say that I'm older than you?" Some of us may go before, the elders may outlive the youngers may outlive the olders. We can't guarantee that. We can't stop anything like that. So here Queen Kunti is saying that just like our name and fame, everything on the material level finished. Everything on the material level. We cannot go back in the next life and say, I have a bank balance of $500. Please give me my money. In my last life was R.T. Swami. I left $500 in the bank. I'd like to have that right now. I cannot do that. There was one time here in Dallas when Prabhupada was walking around White Rock Lake, and there's this, I walk on the other side of the lake, and you can see these big houses on the side of the lake, beautiful big houses on the side of the lake. I've told you this story many times. And the devotees were walking by the big house, and Prabhupada, the devotees told Prabhupada that we tried to knock on the door and give them some devotee book, but they would not let us in. And Prabhupada said, when Yamaraj comes knocking, are they going to be able to avoid it with their money? Because I have big bank balance. I have big degree. I have big minister. And big this, big that. And Prabhupada would say that they go to America and they think America is like Swarga. It's like heaven. And all America is, and I don't know if Prabhupada did this on purpose or it was just accent, but he called skyscraper. Did he say skyscraper, the skyscraper on purpose, or did he just have an accent? I wish I could ask him that question. But he said one man comes from Bombay, goes to Bombay, sees big skyscraper building in America, comes back, builds one big skyscraper in Bombay. And next life he takes birth as a rat or a bug inside that big skyscraper. He's so attached, takes birth as a bug or a rat or a mouse, some bird living in the what do you call it, overhang, due to the attachment. But what is the value? What is the value? What is the value? So she said simply, if you do not look upon us, so Krishna doesn't, if we don't, and this is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said. He said, don't try to see Krishna, act in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. So what are we doing? What are we doing that Krishna will want to see us? Just like today, I sent out my WhatsApp message, and Prabhupada was saying, it was like, it's the third, yesterday I did the 35th, and I saved the 36th verse of the second chapter of the second canto for today. Because I think I'm going to be doing all these verses day after day, because it's getting up to the point where the first Bhagavatam class I ever heard is like in about 3 or 4 more verses. And it's like hogs, dogs, men who are like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. That's the first Bhagavatam my class I ever heard. Men who are like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. By the end of the class, I was convinced I was all for. I was totally convinced. All four of these, a hog, a dog, a camel, and an ass. That's what I act. So Srila Prabhupada was saying that this hearing is so important. It's vital in hearing. So we're meant to hear. There are 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, 9 different processes. And through any one of these processes, one can attain perfection, but the main one is hearing. So Prabhupada said that we utilize the hearing propensity for understanding our relationship with Krishna through utilizing the hearing process, for understanding our relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Then that hearing process is of value. But if we use it, what did he say, by some rubbish machine hearing something like radio, TV, computer, what else is there? iPad, Peapod, all these different things, they're there. And we come together, it's so nice. This group gets together every night, spends 1 hour, hour and a half listening to a katha. But I had to admit when I was reading that today and saying it, how much time I waste on Gramya Katha. I wonder if it's equal. I hope it is. I hope it's more than I'm spending time. I'm reading many verses, many Bhagavatam and something every day. And so when you come down to it, so much rubbish machine polluting. Prabhupada says it's degrading human society. All this rubbish that's going through the air, all this rubbish coming through, it's degrading human society to lower than animal. Lower than animal. Animal acts on according to nature. We go above, our nature is eternal servants of Krishna. Theirs is covered. They have to act like a dog. 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita explains, when you get the body of a dog, you act like a dog. You get the body of a demigod, you act like a demigod. So we have this human form of life. Are we meant to act like the dog? Are we meant to act like the hog? That's my alarm telling me it's time to go to sleep. Anybody set your alarm when to go to sleep? How many people set their alarm when you're supposed to go to sleep? Raise your hand. Huh? There you go, Rajabhumi. She's my disciple. She follows my footprints or footsteps. More people set the alarm to get up. Nothing good happens from 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock maximum on. Nothing valuable can happen, practically speaking, unless you're absorbed in hearing and chanting. Even I told Nitya Gorsun that I won't go past 8:30 because I'm readjusting my schedule. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, happy, and Krishna conscious. Whatever, I don't know how to say it. So this is what's being described here, huh? So Prabhupada was explaining so bluntly that why waste? I mean, how much time is wasted? Just like in my car, I have MP3. I've had the same MP3 disc in there almost since I bought the car. It's got like 30 lectures on. By the time it gets through with all 30, it's on the first one. I can't remember one thing from the first one. It's good I listened to it again. And when we perfect the hearing process, then we can speak. Prabhupada said, first of all, you become a good listener, then you can become good teacher. Just like we want to teach our children, our children's children. We have to have the proper knowledge to do so. And we have to become acharya. Acharya is not ordinary teacher. Prabhupada was founder acharya. Acharya means one who teaches by example. Lord Chaitanya came, taught by his example. How to engage in the loving service of Shri Shri Radha Krishna, bringing the whole aspect of Vrindavan into our what would you say bringing it forward to us for our understanding. Just like I was listening to some classes by His Holiness Devamrita Swami and His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj on the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. They're all on GBC SPT website. You can look at it. So many lectures. So much time for so much stuff is out there for us to hear. Even His Holiness Niranjan Maharaj doing so many classes for us to hear. Yet we want to fill the ears up with so many things else. The scripture says what the ear that's not being filled with the sound of Hari Katha is like a hole which in a snake lives. Like snake hole. The snake goes inside the hole. It probably gives the example. There's I think it's Hindi or Sanskrit word. I can't remember what it is. It's really funny. Not funny, but what do you call it? Comically instructive. The mouse or the mole or whatever goes in the ground and builds a house. He goes in the ground, digs a hole, builds a house, brings in his wife, has a few kids, decorates the hole, gets a nice bathroom off to the side, gets a kitchen over to the left, gets a dining room on the right, upstairs for viewing. Then the snake comes, goes in the hole, eats all the people inside and resides very nicely. This was on a walk in Denver. Right? Remember that walk? Probably was in Denver, walking in that nice park near the temple. And he said, these non-devotees, they work hard like ass. Today, this lecture in Calcutta, Prabhupada said, working like ass, he must have said it 15, 20 times. I swear to Krishna, I swear to all of you. Prabhupada said they work like ass 15, 20 times in that lecture. And if he didn't say ass, he said mudha. He'd say mudha, rascal, mudha. So Prabhupada is saying that these materialistic people, they want to enjoy. So they build a nice park. But they're working so hard like ass that they don't have time to come and enjoy the park. Therefore, we come. We're like the snake. We go inside, we eat, and we enjoy all their hard labor. And we are very happy chanting Hare Krishna here. This is the process that's being described here. That all of our fame and activities, along with anything, the real credit, remember I've told you guys before when we used to be able to be in person, I used to ask Manj and Abhishek, what's your GPA? And they would tell me like 5.20 or whatever it was, their accelerated GPA. And I say, no, not your grade point average, your God point average. What is the God point average? What is God point average today? I see one young man smiling over in the corner next to his father and his GPA. Yeah? So we have this GPA. What is our God point average? Huh? GPS, God positioning system. Are we positioning ourselves in the vicinity so Krishna can keep an eye on? Are we actually communing with God at every moment? Are we utilizing this human form of life for what it's meant for? We're engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. So Prabhupada explains here, Kunti is quite aware of that, aware that the existence of the Pandavas is due to Krishna only. In other words, Krishna being there is what gave the Pandavas. It is because Krishna was present. After Krishna was gone, Arjuna lost all his potency, but as soon as he remembered Krishna, again he remembered. Again, he remembered. I'm trying to look something up on my phone as I talk. So if I ramble on for a second, I have something in here I wanted to say, because Kunti is actually the empowering incarnation of the Supreme Lord. I wrote it down here just a little second. Let me see where that's at. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Be careful of fame. This will reduce one's spiritual, what would you say, abilities. Choice hotel, no distancing, body. Hold on, why do I always lose these things? Oh yeah, Kunti, the name Kunti, Prabhupada explains, is the incarnation of success potency. Kunti is the incarnation of Krishna in the success potency. Draupadi incarnation is Sachi and the wife of Indra. These different things are there. So Kunti is the success potency of the Supreme Lord. So her understanding of success is to have the glance of Krishna upon her at all times. In a few verses, have we already done that verse, or is that coming up real soon here? That let these calamities happen to me again and again. I'd rather have you present, Krishna, in all the things that happen to me. One time I mentioned, maybe it was to this group, if anyone has, what would you say, enough trauma to happen to her to have post-traumatic stress disorder, it would be Kunti. I mean, here she was, a young girl. She calls Vivaswan. Oops. Now I have to figure this one out. Then she ends up marrying to Pandu. Pandu ends up, he can't bear a child. She has to call demigods, and she has to refuse her husband to get more children. Then her husband dies. Then they try to poison her children. They try to light her on fire. They take the kingdom away from their children. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Yet she prays. This is one thing I've never done. I can honestly say I've never prayed for more calamities. I've never prayed for more misery. I've never prayed for more stress. I've never prayed for all these things. I've never had the, what would you say, the emotional fortitude or the constitutional fortitude to pray, Krishna, let these things happen so that I can remember you. Now, this is one of the differences between Kunti and most conditioned souls. Kunti remembers Krishna under that distress. Most of us, we have problem. Most of us, we have problem when it comes to that. Why me? Why me? I didn't deserve it. What's up? What's going on? How is it possible? What did I ever do wrong? Can't possibly be me. So the Pandavas undoubtedly were well established in the name and fame, are guided by Krishna, our great King Yudhishthira, who is morality personified. Morality personified. It said that Yudhishthira Maharaj never told a lie. Anybody have that qualification? Never told a lie? I never told a lie. That's a lie. Nobody got that one. Vishnu Charan caught it. Then the baker caught it. I never told a lie. That's a lie that I said I never told a lie. I've told so many lies. I've lied so many times in this class tonight, probably. I don't even remember. I'm so addicted or so conditioned by lying, I don't even know what the truth is anymore, except for Krishna. So the Yadavas are undoubtedly great allies of Krishna, but without the guidance of Krishna, all of them are non-entities, as much as the senses of the bodies are useless without the guidance of consciousness. We were just talking about that. What was I was talking with, I think it was Borjan Prabhu, or was Borjan Prabhu giving a lecture for Gaur Purnima, and it's just like our consciousness, we're conscious, and therefore we experience our mind, we experience our intelligence. And it's that consciousness that is actually us. That's our constitutional position. When it's coming filtered through the material energy, through this material mind, our consciousness tells us so many illusory things. A couple of days ago, I gave my WhatsApp message. It's like the mirage on the desert, but there's water on the desert. It's a mirage. It's not real. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no water anywhere. It just means that it's just a reflection. It's a reflection of reality. And that's what this material world is. It's a reflection of the spiritual reality which we are meant to be engaged in our eternal relationship with Krishna. Now it's blocked. So when we're conscious now, we're only conscious of this material body and how to satisfy this material body rather than to engage ourselves in the eternal loving service of Krishna. And therefore, we're never happy. We think we're happy, like the madman. Huh? Baba said, what is it? Stupidity is a sum total of all madness or something. Remember that lecture he was giving with those Stilson Judah and all those professors in his garden in Los Angeles? And somebody said, yes, probably said, yes, stupidity is a sum total of all madness. Because they don't like to use those kind of words. They say, I gotta be PC these days. You can't call anybody out like they really are. And so this is the problem. This is the problem, that we're actually without the guidance of our spiritual consciousness, unless our intelligence is connected to Krishna consciousness, we'll never have a steady mind. The mind can never be steady. This is in the second chapter of the Gita, like 65, 66. That without being connected to Krishna consciousness, our intelligence connected to Krishna, the mind will never be satisfied, and that mind will never be peaceful. And without peace, how can we become actually happy? If the mind can't be peaceful, and the mind is never peaceful, I guarantee. We may think that the mind is giving us some good advice, but I guarantee 99 times out of 100, it's not giving us good advice. 6th chapter of the Gita says the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and the enemy as well. But it has to be trained up in order to be the friend. That's what sadhana bhakti is. Sadhana bhakti is a training. It's a training course that we undergo so that we can learn how to remember Krishna, learn how to associate with Krishna. Because without it, what are we going to become? We're going to change rooms. Are we going to just sit here and decorate this one? Or we're going to make, as Prabhupada would say, good use out of a bad bargain. Coming in the material world is honestly a bad bargain. We made the wrong, I tell you, we got ripped off. I don't know if we can say that in public or not like that, but we got ripped off. We thought we could find happiness in here, and we got changed up. They gave us fake money. They gave us fake everything. Or we came in the material world, we thought we could become happy, and we found that there's no reservoir of happiness in this material. There's not a grain. There's not a grain of happiness. This is described in Bhagavatam. We think there's an ocean of happiness here. We search out this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing. We've tried from A to Z, or as they say in here, A to Z, I think. So we've tried so many different things, and what do we find? You find the same thing over and over and over again. So unless our consciousness is guided by scripture, it's like at the end of the 16th chapter that we have to be guided guided by scripture in order to avoid these infectious, this infection of materialism. Probably use that word today in my WhatsApp message. The degradation of human society due to the influence of materialism. We think that we're prospering. We think that we're advancing, but we're actually going further and further into the rabbit hole. And it's getting darker and darker and darker every moment. Now, we don't like to talk like this. We don't like to hear like this. But what are we going to do? The ostrich or the rabbit probably gave the example the other day that rabbit is being attacked. So what does it do? It puts its paws on top of its eyes so he can't see the wolf or the fox or whatever is coming to get him. And he thinks now that if he can't see it, it's not there. So Bhagavatam and the scripture is there to open our eyes to the fact that the fox or the wolf is coming. That's what the scriptures are there for, to open our eyes. They're not meant to just say, yeah, close your eyes, it'll go away. Like my mother used to say when I would get hurt and I would be screaming and crying, don't worry, Mars, it'll be gone before you're married. I guess she was right. That never happened yet, knock on wood, 67, still trying. The Prabhupada continues in the purpose, no one should be proud of his prestige, power, or fame without being guided by the favor of the Supreme Lord. These things are just temporary. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, it says pride comes before the fall. As soon as we have a little bit of pride, Krishna will let us know. And it'll be loud and clear. The living entities, we living entities, were always dependent on the ultimate dependable object, the Supreme Lord himself. Even in the material energy, just like Srila Prabhupada was saying the other day, that the intelligence for the people to, in other words, he said, even if they create life, what's the big deal? There's so much life already being created every moment. And he says, now you understand that water is H2O, two hydrogens, one oxygen. What's the big deal that you know that the chemical composition of water is? What about the person that created all the water? Why don't you glorify scientists, he said. You glorify because you figured out, okay, there's hydrogen and there's oxygen, and it makes a water molecule. Give them a big PhD or give them one of your Pulitzer Prize or this or that. But neglect the person that created everything, the scientist that put everything together so that you could find one little tiny thing, one little tiny thing. So we're always dependent on the Supreme Lord. One of the purports I read the other day said that with Krishna we can't see, we can't hear, we can't taste, we can't smell. None of these things we have no sensation. Because without earth, there's no smell. Without light, there's no sight. Without ether, there's no sound. Without air, there's no touch. Without water, there's no taste. All these things we're completely dependent on Krishna for all the things we're trying to enjoy, even in the material world. So why not glorify that which is giving us all these benefits? So many unlimited benefits. Unlimited benefits are being provided for us at all times. Yet we don't want to glorify that person. We'd rather glorify ha, 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 ho, 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 go to the nightclub, go to this place, go to that place, dance this way, dance that way. Probably what did he say that day in one of the classes I listened to? Eat, beat, and be merry. Eat, drink, and be merry. Not a goal of life. As I've told this group many times before, the bumper sticker, he who dies with the most toys wins. If you have the most toys, you won. So Prabhupada continues to say, we may therefore invent our advancement in material knowledge, all sorts of counteracting material resources. Trying to counteract all the different effects of the material energy by inventing different things. But without being guided by the Lord, all such inventions end in fiasco. However strong and stout the reactionary elements may be. In other words, I've given this example to this group so many times. In New York, they had a problem with road apples. Meg, you know what road apples are? They come out of the backside of a horse. Those little lumps that come out the backside of a horse, they're called road apples. So before they invented the car, they had a road apple problem in New York City. What do we do with all these road apples? There was a lot of road apples in New York. So they were thinking. Finally, somebody invented the car. So the inventions, they end in fiasco. However strong and stout the reactionary elements may be. So now we got road apples in the sky. Air pollution, ozone breaking down. Whether or not you believe it or not, so be it. I don't care what side of the tracks you're on. I have nothing to do with that. But the idea is that no matter what you do, you can't even get tap water now without plastic being inside it. We think that we can make everything so nice. Plastic this, plastic that, plastic. No, you can't even get a drink of water anywhere without plastic. The whole ocean. You can't. You go to the ocean. You take a cup of water out of the ocean. You take it to the lab. It's got plastic in it. So all our so-called material resources, all our invented by our imagination, by our so-called by our advancement in material science. And probably is not against science. Science just has to be utilized for discovering the source of everything, not denying them. You ever wonder why the scientists can't figure out what is God? Because their premises is you don't exist. If I came up to you and wanted to know about you and said, you don't exist, what's my chances of getting to know you? My first statement to you is, you don't exist. You prove to me that you exist. I don't believe you exist. There's no chance whatsoever. So I went past my quota of 30 minutes by 7 minutes. The Tagore Sundar gave me the benediction today. I could talk for 30 minutes. So I can take my rest on time when my alarm clock goes off, and it's going to go off again in 8 minutes to remind me that I'm supposed to be in bed with the light out. I give myself a 30-minute ready. Get ready. It actually takes me an hour, but I give myself 30 minutes. So any comments or questions from the esteemed group?
Guru Maharaj? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. Oh my God, no, I just forgot what I was going to say. What you were saying, I know, I'm sorry, I do apologize. What you were saying, Queen Kunti was saying, success potency. I've never heard that term before, and that's really interesting. And basically, you're saying success potency is our ability or our always remembering Krishna. But that made me think of how you also say to give full attention is full retention, and that's something I constantly struggle with. I try to retain what I read and what I hear you speak so nicely, but my attention is always fluctuating, and it kind of takes me. It makes my thoughts go back and forth to people's how they measure success in material gain, but really, like you're saying, or how Queen Kunti was saying, it's all success should be measured in how much we remember Krishna, and I mean that's I guess my takeaway. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. That's a sign of success. That today it was in my WhatsApp, Papa was saying, anywhere and any time and anywhere and any place, remember Krishna, no matter what. Be focused on Krishna. Nothing should deviate us from thinking of Krishna. And Krishna is present within everything. If we can just learn this simple fact. First of all, we learn the fact, I'm not this material body. That's number one. Number two, that that everything is owned and controlled by Krishna. And I've given this example, just like if I go in your house, you say, make yourself at home. It doesn't mean I can just take everything out of your house and claim it as mine. It just means, it can be utilized from wherever I'm there. And so in the same way, the material energy can be utilized for us to serve Krishna. As soon as we go outside that, we're up in the doghouse. That was for my friends over there. They'll know who they are. They're going to end up in the dog house. Any other comments? Anybody take away?
Yes, Raj, I liked your analogy of the eviction. You said at the beginning, the eviction notice that we have only so much time and we have to get serious, and the lease is going up and we don't want to decorate our body or our house when it's under lease. So, I mean, all makes sense under the context of if you believe in afterlife, right? We believe in reincarnation, but it's really hard to convince someone, or, or at least they know it's true, but they don't want to believe it. And then, I mean, if you want to try to convince them to become vegetarian because they'll have to suffer the consequences in the future, they still don't change their behavior. So we just call it stupidity, or how do you help these folks?
Madness. Madness. The sum total of all stupidity, right? I mean, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. They see themselves chasing residents all the time. Just like, I see I thought I saw your kids. No, I didn't see your kids. I see your, no. I see Manisha's kids. I guess your boys aren't there today. I remember when they were little. Now they're grown up in college and doing so many things. Where's those little crybaby kids? Are they, where are they at? Their body completely gone. And so the idea is that, I mean, probably use the ass word so much today. I think I'll use it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make an ass drink. I mean, what can you do? It's just really hard. It's right in front of us. We all know it's going to be temporary. But on the material level, happiness or success means gaining something material. But for the devotee, success means set aside all that material, unnecessary material gain. Set aside all that material gain for gaining even one drop of mercy, of clarity, one drop of a moment of clarity to understand our relationship with God. All the opulence we have, and opulence is, wealth, strength, knowledge, beauty, fame, renunciation, all these things that we have no value in the ultimate sense on a material level. And so better to give them all up in payment. And it's kind of in a kind of form of payment to understand our relationship to Krishna. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to live in poverty. Today, I was listening to a lecture and someone was saying the poverty and wealth, and Prabhupada said, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter if you're living on the street or in a big, palatial place. It doesn't matter. It's our ability to remember Krishna there's no material circumstance that can touch it if we want it. The question is, do we want it? And like you say, it's very difficult to convince someone that doesn't, if someone doesn't want to hear, like a person who's asleep, they can be woken up. But if somebody's faking to be asleep, I have many experiences this in the Gurukul or on the summer trip, boys faking to be asleep, right? and pretending to be asleep, But if somebody's faking to be asleep, you can't wake them up. But if they're actually asleep, you just give them a little touch, just say hardball, and they'll wake up. And also, I was talking with Gary Dari Swami. It was yesterday, I think it was yesterday or today. And we're talking that somehow or another, something sparked. It was just like, okay, this is real. I have to do this. At a certain point in our life, we just decided this has more value than anything I've ever done before. Confirmed by my phone telling me I'm supposed to be in bed. It's very, very observant, Vishnu Charan, very, very observant, because and all you can feel is sadness. It's not that we like, talk these people. We don't speak poorly of them. we speak with empathy. It's just like a person is sitting there, just like today when I went out to the lake to chant japa, I saw this gentleman smoking, and I just felt like going up to him and telling him, I lost my father, I lost my mother, I lost my sister, I lost one of my best friends from high school, lung cancer, and another friend that has a lung cancer spot in her heart that never even smoked cigarettes. Please, it's, you know, if you love your family, please don't do this. I didn't do it. I don't know why, maybe I was chicken or I just wanted to chant japa. But the point is like, we feel, I just felt the poor guy doesn't understand. He either understands and doesn't want to admit it, or he just doesn't understand. He either understands or doesn't understand. And if he does understand, he just doesn't want to admit it. Or that what happens a lot of times is that in the beginning we don't understand, and then we become addicted. I heard nicotine is one of the heaviest things to get away from. I'm not 100, I've never, you know, I don't know that so much about what is the most addictive substance, but I heard nicotine is one of the heaviest. And so we see these people with compassion that they're missing a grand opportunity to be awakened to Krishna conscious, or the real picture of this material, of this situation. It's like, again, the best use of a bad bargain. But if they're faking to be asleep, very difficult to wake them up. But if they're actually sleeping, then the sound vibration can penetrate. Sound vibration, very good observation. You see that all over the place, isn't it? I mean, when I'm driving to the park, you see, I drive kind of slow, but I drive in a lane because I have to make a left turn. And I see all these guys behind me just get really mad and racing down the road. Of course, I see them at the next red light, which is a very interesting point to take up, you know. And so the point is, like when I'm walking at the lake, I see these guys fishing, right? And I always walk by and I'm telling them, I root for the fish. Yeah, okay, man, root for the fish. They're winning. Your team is winning. I say I root for the fish. And I tell them, you know what? In your next life, you're going to be the fish, and the fish is going to be you on the bank trying to pull you out of the water. How do you like that? They go, I tell you what, but when I'm in the water, I'm going to be too smart to bite one of these hooks. He said, yeah, it must have been you and one of your family in your last life out there swimming because they're not biting your hook this lifetime. We have these long discussions about the fish and the fisherman and the exchanging of roles along the bank. And they're all very wonderful people, you know, they know me. They just, when they see me, hey, there's a guy that roots for the fish. There's a guy that roots for the fish. There's the guy that roots for the oranges instead of the gators. Had to throw one in, Abby.
So, Niraj, I had a quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier that unlike other conditioned souls, Kunti really asked Krishna for more adversities so that she could think of Krishna during those adversities and really cultivate that relationship with him. So should our thinking be similar to that? Because like even if I wanted to ask Krishna for that, I don't think I could bring myself to ask him that.
That's what I said. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being tortured enough. I know I got my quota.
Yeah. So how do we? So like, what should we learn from that? Because it's hard for us to really get there. But so what should we learn from that like scenario?
What you can learn from that is when adversities come, that you can see them with gratitude. That Krishna is teaching you. This is Krishna utilizing the material energy to teach you that you can't be comfortable in this material world. Okay. In other words, even though you're not asking for it, it's still happening.
Yes.
So in the same way, the happiness that you're asking for is going to happen anyway also. Whole screen change. I lost. Okay, there you are. In other words, we don't go to the CVS and ask them for COVID. We go to the CVS and ask them for prevention for COVID or medicine for COVID.
Yes.
But yet COVID comes anyway.
Yeah.
And so we should understand that the Bhagavatam explains that suffering that we have is already set. We're going to get that suffering. And also the happiness that we have coming is going to be there. We don't have to strive so hard for gaining happiness. Artha harta parasya, that over endeavoring for mundane things, which is very difficult to achieve. Atyahara is very difficult to achieve. That we don't need to do that, because the more we achieve, we have a certain quota. We have a certain quota of that we're allotted in this lifetime. There will be a certain amount of happiness, a certain amount of distress, and no matter what we do, we can't avoid that. So rather than wasting our time trying to gain more pleasure than we're allotted and worrying about more suffering than we're about to get, utilize that time and be gracious that Krishna has given me a certain amount of lessons through this suffering process, and given me a little bit of time to reflect that if I live my life in the mode of goodness, I can be more peaceful, I can be more happy, at least on the material level, and actually extend that to be able to understand the finer points of life. That's the mode of goodness. So it'll lean us that way. It can lean us that way. That the suffering. Now, I can admit I'm not going to pray for suffering. I mean, I'm not going to not pray. I'm just going to say whatever you want, Krishna. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. There will be an answer. I can sing the song if you guys like. But the point is that it's going to happen. So it teaches us. It teaches us to be grateful that Krishna is not letting us enjoy so much that we forget him. Okay. I was just reading, or was the Prabhupada was speaking on a lecture. I listened to a couple of lectures almost every day, and Prabhupada was saying that in the heavenly planets, it's so much pleasure that one forgets Krishna. One forgets his what would you say, ability to have gratitude towards Krishna, because there's so little suffering. But at the same time, the demigods in general are devotees of Krishna. And so there's a little, kind of a loop there that we have to figure out, because, they are connected, but the amount of sense gratification, even Indra forgets his position, even Brahma forgets his position, even Lord Shiva challenged Krishna. So many people challenge Krishna to different things, but ultimately they're devotees.
Yes.
In as much as we're ultimately devotees. We're devotees of Krishna. Every living entity in this material world, as Vishnu Charan Prabhu was saying, they may not admit it, they may not want to hear it, but everyone is a devotee of Krishna.
Yes.
That is our constitutional position. Our sarupa is to be servant. We have to serve something. So we either serve Krishna or we serve the Ujjwari energy. We can't stop serving. And so I don't expect you to go out and tomorrow ask Krishna, please, get me in a car wreck and give me a broken leg so that I won't have to be attracted to playing soccer and basketball with my brother anymore. And whatever. I don't know what you guys do, but I'm just, you don't have to pray for that. And I pray it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, just say Krishna, Krishna. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for teaching me the facts of life. Thank you for awakening me.
Yeah. So instead of worrying about what adversities or opportunities are coming toward us, we should be grateful to Krishna for each one of those things.
Yeah, both sides of the track. Yeah, very good. Okay. Both sides. Very wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Now I'm all excited. I knew this was going to happen. Every time I talk about Krishna, I get my blood flowing, and now I probably won't be able to fall asleep until 10:30. It's Nitai Gaur Sundar's fault. It's not my fault. It's Krishna's. It's Nitai Gaur Sundar's fault. I can say that now because he has to take a call from the hospital. I can get away with it. So I'm taking the call. Okay, everyone. Oh. Dr. Desai, you have your hand up, or is that just a bump on the computer? You want to ask a question, Kirma? Dr. Desai, you have a question? Or is it just you bumped the computer to put your hand?
No, he wanted
Oh,
to again.
it's going all over your house. Turn it back off. Turn it back off.
Auntie, if you turn your volume down completely, there won't be any issues with both phones.
Yeah, I just got off.
Okay.
Thank you, Ke Maharaj ne
Thank
bas.
you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Very
Huh?
nice lecture. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully, see you in a month.
Thank
If
you,
you
Maharaj.
can have- If you can
Lot
have
of
the
question,
program.
lot of comment, but time is up. It's already, you are almost 25 minutes beyond
Yeah.
your, yeah, so we'll talk tomorrow.
Can if we can do this earlier, it'd be better. Early to bed, early to rise, makes a Prabhu healthy, Krishna conscious, and whatever.
Wise.
Why? No.
Can you come on Friday, 7:30? This Friday, coming
No
Friday.
comment. No
We'll
comment.
talk. Okay, we'll talk. No commitment, huh?
I won't answer my phone.
Okay,
reply to
Maharaj,
text.
we'll not talk
Kosher's
tomorrow, we'll
on.
talk Wednesday. Okay, Maharaj.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Nice to see you, Manju.
Hare Krishna.
Everyone, don't hang out. Uncle still has to chant. We still have to do kirtan.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I sent you a message, Manj.
Oh, I just saw it, Manj.
Huh?
I'll text you. Don't worry.
Okay.
There was another question from
Ah,
Mother
no.
Kunti, but probably you can ask. You can.
Kunti lives across the street.
He had a question, Maharaj.
Yes, chanting, cleansing the heart through chanting makes room for love in the heart to love, makes room for love of God to develop. Yeah. It clears out the debris. Just like here in my room, I don't have many knickknacks. I don't have things laying around, and there's room for me to be Krishna conscious in here. It's not, oops, I just big boo-boo. It's not cluttered up. So if our heart is cluttered up with anarthas, it becomes very difficult to find Krishna. Actually, I was reading in the Bhagavatam that from impersonalism, you move on to pantheism, where you see that there is something in the creation. And from pantheism, we can move on to seeing the Virat Rup of Krishna, which is a temporary manifestation of the Supreme Lord. And that Virat Rup comes from Shirodakshaya Vishnu, and Shirodakshaya Vishnu comes from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, that comes from Karanodakshaya Vishnu, which comes from 12 different laps back, and it ultimately comes to Krishna. So in order to avoid impersonalism, we start with pantheism and go into the Virat Rup, and we can go from there and ultimately come very, 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 very close and very dear to Krishna. But we must remove the obstacles of the narratives from the heart. Removing those things, has anybody ever cleaned anything and found it easy? We may think we can make it easier with cleanser. We can make it easier if we press harder. Oh, there's a little chanters and little young lady chanters. And the cleaning is we always have to put effort. Sometimes I sweep my room 3 times a day. It always gets dirty. So even though we're cleansing the heart, we're also contaminating the heart by all this rubbish machinery that we're listening to. Ha ha ha, I got to use that one twice. All those earbuds going in with all those EMFs ruining our consciousness. And so yes, let's get rid of that rubbish. Get rid of the rubbish. Didn't Prabhupada say if you have a vessel full of ink, you keep pouring milk, pretty soon all the garbage comes out and you have pure milk. Is that true? Did anybody ever hear that analogy? Or something like, I think I heard that analogy. So we want to pour in the good, but at the same time, we want to remove. We don't want to add anything to the contamination that's already in the heart, because they fertilize just because there's there's creepers in the heart. The anarthas are like creepers, they're like little growths in the heart. And when we add on material sense gratification, it fertilizes those little creepers, and they can overcome the bhakti lata beads. And when it overcomes the bhakti lata beads, then our spiritual life is choked, and we don't want our spiritual life. We want to enhance our spiritual life more and more as we can.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, Queen Kunti, you don't like being called Queen Kunti, so I stopped that about 25 years ago. Okay, everyone, hopefully we'll see you in a month. Krishna willing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.